Hey everybody, it's Libby again with Fearlessness. What's fearlessness? It's that underlying grit that empowers us to forge ahead as entrepreneurs. Even when hope seems distant, it's the courage to walk through those fires of hell, knowing that we're not going to just come out better on the other side, but stronger. Stay tuned and learn how to get fearlessness. I'm your host, Libby DeLucien, and today I have a very good friend and guest on, Meaghan Likes. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are?
Hi, everybody. My name is Meaghan Likes. I'm a CPA based out of Northern California, and I'm a fellow home service business owner and serial entrepreneur. And Libby and I have been dancing around the same circles and friends groups for about 3 or 4 years now. I have a window cleaning company. I have an accounting company. I have a software company. I have a consulting company. So I've got a lot of different hands in the pot. And I just am really passionate about helping business owners take the thing they're really good at and do better because they get an understanding of their numbers and their finances. And I always say I take the fear out of finances. So I'm really honored to be here on this Fearlessness podcast because I feel like that's my sweet spot, is helping people take something that's really scary and intimidating, like accounting and money, and taking that fear out of it and really taking back the power so that we can go do more. Yeah.
Definitely power behind that. Me and Meaghan have known each other for a long time. I have a question to ask you, but
Please.
It's about why do you think we're scared? But my first statement about Meaghan is when I first met Meaghan, she was not nice to me.
True. I still am paying for that to this day.
I'm like, I went to my husband and I'm like, she was mean. I don't know what I did to her.
I was not nice the first time, and I am still publicly very sorry for that, Libby. I made a very bad first impression.
Oh, and I was like, I don't know what I did. But slowly over time, we've gotten to be good friends and we have great mutual friends. And it's just funny because I think that we're so protective of our other friends and other things and vendors that we use. It's kind of like where it came from. And I get it because I have friends like that. And then I'm like that to other things.
I feel like if you want to talk about it briefly, I'm happy to. I've learned a lot about myself through Enneagrams, and I'm an Enneagram 8. And one of the things that I learned a lot when I discovered what an Enneagram 8 was part of it is perception. So I'm a pretty aggressive person. I'm a very confident person. I don't ever self-identify as a mean person, but I have learned that I come across as mean probably 90% of the time, or aggressive. And what I've learned since that moment with Libby, and it's not like I was reformed after that moment, but it's a constant self-work, is that I ask a lot of questions. And when I'm in questioning mode, it can feel like I'm investigating
interrogation
mode. And it feels like the person on the other side did something wrong. And my husband, he is often on the other side of that. And he is always like, oh my God, can you just back off? I'm seeking to find understanding. I'm trying to connect, and the other person feels like I'm attacking, and it happens all of the time. And so I am not at all discounting how that felt, Libby, and I am sorry.
It's okay.
For the listeners out there, I questioned her very aggressively and intensely.
It's so fast that I couldn't even answer the questions. So then it felt like I was hiding, keeping stuff, because I was just I don't know where this is coming from.
And the questions were what is Woot Recruit? What does Woot Recruit do? And I just kept trying to figure out. And the defensiveness was our good now mutual friend, and a major reason that you and I became friends is Don Williams. And Don Williams owned an applicant tracking system. And I was trying to figure out is Woot Recruit an applicant tracking system? And she's like, no, it's not. And I was like, great. So what is it? So someday maybe we'll do that again. Sorry.
It was funny though. But I have the same thing though, Meaghan. I ask a ton of questions and I make people feel uncomfortable. And it's just because I need a certain level of understanding to kind of be a line or on the same page with it. I'm just not as fast to ask them, I guess, as you. I'm a little bit slower to ask them.
Well, and I need to learn that if I actually want to learn, I have to slow down. And I have to ask in a language that's not aggressive, right?
Sorry, that was my 2022. No, that was my 2023 goal last year, was patience and to stop being so, because I have a very direct personality as well, was patience and kind of also, you're going to laugh at me. My 2023 goal as well was allowing, this just sounds so funny. With the patients, it was also allowing people to touch me. So my love language is not like touch. And if people would shake my hand or like come up to give me a hug, I'm the person that would like step back. And because
I've never experienced that, listeners. That's never happened where I've gone to, because I'm the opposite. I'm like such a hugger, and I've gone to hug Libby and she just goes like stiff and limp and like is pulling away. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. I'm sorry. I didn't even ask.
Yeah. And it's funny.
Her daughter, now I never hug Libby because Yaya gives me all the hugs. It's fine. And Yaya will be in my lap, and it's like, it's a whole thing.
But it's weird because I operate in this little bubble. And it made me so uncomfortable, and it has nothing to do with anybody else, but everything to do with me. But that was my 2023 goal, was to allow to be touched and to work on my patience, because I was too aggressive, too in like people's faces, or I would tell them stuff that they didn't ask to hear. And so the patience really, really paid off. And so did the touch, because now I will like hug people. We have another mutual friend, Molly, and Molly knows now that I accept hugs, because when I first met Molly, I was like, don't touch me.
We just had a great week with Molly, Libby and I did. And one of the our panel was about peer-to-peer empowerment. And one of the common themes that came up in that panel, because I'd say we were all Ds. Maybe Drew's not D, but I'd say we were all Ds. And all pretty aggressive, all very successful, all pretty intimidating, like all running at our own speeds, doing our own thing, and friendly, like friends to each other. Thank God, Libby forgave me for my aggressiveness, and we got over it. But one of the things that came up is when you're all Ds and when you're trying to connect with one another, like that can turn into a fight. So lots of fights. And on the stage, there were a couple of fights, like, and not like aggressive, like brawls, but just like, you're not on the same page. And so one of the things I remember from that panel was we talked about consent. And the consent is like, hey, I have some feedback for you, and it's going to be pretty direct. Are you in a place where you'd like to hear it? And then leaving space for the other person to be like, no, I need like soft mittens right now, or no, I just don't care, or no, I don't. Like, you don't have to say I don't respect you and I don't want to hear it, but like, there's a way to say that. You can be like, actually, I don't care what you think about that right now. Like, I just don't want to hear it. And so I feel like the same is true or back in kindergarten with touching, right? You should ask if you can hug somebody. You should ask if you could like approach them. But like learning how as adults, we became friends with Molly that week in San Jose. We weren't friends with her. So we talked a lot about that process of becoming friends with another adult. And a lot of it has to do with consent and like, knowing what you as a person are comfortable with and what you as a person are willing to like, kind of stretch your comfort zone over. But I think that's so interesting. Like consent was a huge theme of us, and being adult enough to be like, if you do say it's okay, you're allowed to change your mind, but like, remember that you granted permission, right? Like you said, yeah, I'm ready to hear it. Give it to me straight. And then sometimes we don't like what the other person's going to tell us.
Oh no, sometimes we don't. And, but that's okay, because we allowed them to give it to us. And then sometimes I'll tell somebody like Dom, hey, I don't want to hear it right now. Like, I don't have the capacity, so just save it for later.
I think Dom learned from Libby, because now I get an autoresponder text from Dom saying, I don't have the capacity for this right now. We'll talk later. And I'm like, yeah. Okay. And it doesn't hurt my feelings anymore. I'm just like, he's full for today. Doesn't want my shit. Okay.
Yep. And so I love that about just being in that circuit, and we all know each other, and we all helping each other. We're all trying to really improve the home service space and how it's perceived, and also help the owners. It's hard and it sucks sometimes. And I love your mission on how to make numbers not scary. And so, you're not the typical CPA. No. As far as like, I'm not talking about look, I'm just talking about you're not as like dry
I'm
or
not
boring.
White guy.
Like, you're not a guy. You don't have a suit on. But why do you think, like, essentially entrepreneur, and I see this a ton in the cleaning space, a ton. And in the lawn care, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, I'm at a $5 million company and they have no idea how they got to $5 million. Like they did not know their numbers at all. Meanwhile, me and the other consultant that were there, I was a guest speaker, and we were just kind of like, how do you accidentally get to 5 million and you didn't know like your numbers? But it can be done. But why do you think, like with everyone you work with, like talking to people, consulting, like why do you think at the beginning we're so scared? But then there's that moment that switches. And I'm sure you see that moment where like all of a sudden we're like, oh my God, this is important. I should take this seriously.
Oh, nobody's ever asked me that before. That's really interesting. The first thing, my like knee-jerk reaction to that question is like rock bottom. Mm-hmm. I feel like everybody knows that they need to know their numbers. I'd say 100% of business owners know that. But like, I'd say less than, if I had to guess, and it's a total gut check, and I'm probably bullshitting, but I'd say 15% actually do.
Oh no, I would agree.
Okay. Well, it might be less, it might be more, but like 15%, like, so 100% of people, 95% of people know I need to know my numbers, but 15% actually get from that need to, okay, I'm going to figure it out. And the ones that do are either naturally good at math, so it's not so scary. Like there is a small percentage of the population, a couple of our mutual friends are just naturally good at math. Like their brain just thinks in numbers. And so maybe they weren't naturally born to know what numbers to look at or how to interpret them, but they didn't have the scary part of looking at it, right? So there's a small percentage of the population, of that 15%, that's like naturally good at math. And then the other parts, there's something traumatic that's happened that has forced them to get over the fear. So maybe the traumatic thing was not having enough for payroll, or maybe the traumatic thing was like coming from a family. Like in my case, my parents failed as entrepreneurs. So like, I don't think I'm naturally good at math. Like that is not a skill set that I think I'm good at people like that. Well, except for when I'm aggressive and pick fights with other vendors, you know, but for the most part, normally I'm a good connector. I'm good at connecting with people. Math is something I've always worked at. But for me, the traumatic life event was my parents' businesses failed. And when Jeff, my husband, came to me and said he wanted to open a window cleaning company, I told him no. I was like, no, we're employees. Like we don't do business. Like business is scary and business fails. And like business is going to like be this lifetime of poverty. Like, no, I don't want that. And so I feel like the ones that get over that hurdle, it's because they've been scared enough. And then there's a super critical component that is not usually associated with entrepreneurs, but they have to be humble enough to ask for help. The entrepreneurs that are so like bravado, they're so like, I know all the answers. Those are the ones that usually know their numbers the least in my experience in the world I sit in, because
you know,
they won't ask for like, what does average ticket mean? Or how do you calculate average ticket? And if you're listening, you're just like, that's so basic. Why would they ever need to ask it? And I'm like, you would be shocked at the number of people I talk to on a daily basis who do not understand the role. Maybe they know how to calculate, but they don't understand the role or the power of that one number average ticket.
Yeah. I mean, I was reading a book. And there was a statement in that book. And it was, and this is something I struggle with still, just to be frank and clear, is if you have to be as willing to receive help as you are to give help. Like as entrepreneurs, we want to go like fix everything and like we can do it and I'll give you some advice. And I see the advice on like social media and Facebook, and some of it just I cringe because I'm like, oh my God, don't say that.
Libby and I in San Jose, we were in a talk and Libby was like, oh my God, Meaghan, are you okay? Oh, Libby, I did catch him after. I don't know if you ever heard that.
It was not good. I'm not an accountant and I knew.
And Jeff was with me and Jeff was like, and Jeff had not been in the talk.
Are you tired of talent and HR podcasts that sound like corporate training videos? Same. Talentless is the no-fluff show about hiring, leadership, culture, and what's actually going on in the world of work. Talentless is a podcast for recruiters by recruiters. Hosted by Desiree Goldie and Ashley King, they're smart, occasionally salty, and never afraid to say what everyone else is thinking. Listen wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe at talentlesspodcast.com.
My husband, for those of you know, he's like the most passive guy ever. And he was like, oh my God, I have never seen you lay into anybody like that ever in your whole life. And I was like, oh, Jeff, you don't know. Like what he did today was criminal. Anyway, so like Libby and I, we like, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to bite your tongue. What you were going with though there is saying, don't be a know-it-all, be willing to ask for help. And I interrupted.
But if you're not willing to ask for help, you're working twice as hard. Right? If you're only willing to give and give and give, it's, our network determines who we are. If we can ask for help and we can lean into help when we need things, when we don't understand, and we're willing to receive it without keeping score, is so valuable. But we want to be like, oh, well, if you do this for me, then I have to do this for you, or let me do something for you. Or we're not even willing to ask for help. I struggled with that for a long time. I'm much better now. But it was like, oh, I have to do everything myself. I'm the only one that can do it. Like, it's only me. And it's like shameful almost.
That's where it's going. I think that there's, it's so interesting because like as entrepreneurs, we have to be brave. We have to be confident. We have to be decisive. Like those are all key components to being a successful entrepreneur. Like we have to be fearless, right? Like we have to be. But if we can also be vulnerable, if we can also be fragile, if we can also be like a little bit, unknowing or like, and for me, the really hard part is I think I've started to embrace this like role of vulnerability, but I can't be vulnerable with my team in all things. Like my team needs me to be a fearless leader that's decisive, that has a plan, but I also have to be human, right? Like otherwise they burn me out because like they work me. So I've got a couple of assistants, like they will work me to death if I don't show them like, hey, here's my limits, here's my boundaries. But with our friends, I find entrepreneurship to be very lonely. I find it to be very isolating. And when I have chosen to be vulnerable and asked for help, those connections, because who doesn't like to be asked for help? Like, even if you don't have the capacity to help in that moment, it feels good. You're like, wow, they need me. I have purpose. I have value, right? So if we can get to the point where we can ask for the help, then we build these connections and they're true connections, right? Like I had so many great moments this weekend with different entrepreneurs where we were really vulnerable and it had felt lonely. Like somebody and I, we both shared our emergency reserve amounts and it was like within $1,000 of each other. And both of us were feeling kind of nervous because like, it's been a weird year. And like,
it's been a very weird year.
Yeah. And that's not something you usually talk about at the bar. You talk about revenue, you talk about run rate. You don't usually talk about like, how much cash do I have in the bank to get me through my next deal? And when you do like that connection, we're tied for life. Like that one conversation.
And I think that's really powerful because I don't think that a lot of people talk enough about like profit. Like we people teach on all kinds of stuff, but like I'm really big into profitability, but you wouldn't know that because the way I achieve it is through consistency and processes, right? And that which in turns to creating more profit because we're more efficient. The wasted time, like running lean. But I don't talk in forms of numbers. But I think that as, going around and speaking and seeing speakers, and I also think the reason we're scared of it is that we're not scared of it. It's just that implementation is boring and innovation is sexy.
Yeah. I mean, they say that like that is one of the core differentiators between those that are successful and those that aren't, is that like they're just more tenacious and they can get through the boring shit. Like they can just keep trying. They just keep going.
And so I think that's one reason why like we ignore them or we don't understand, like, or we don't want to understand. It's just boring. But you're right on the traumatic experience. So my traumatic experience where I had to get serious. So I have had other businesses before, being in the home service space. I owned a bar, owned a restaurant. We had a few rental properties, and my traumatic experience was getting a divorce and having to file bankruptcy and having to start from, you could say zero or start from experience, but not understanding. I ran the businesses, but I didn't pay attention to the money. And that hurt me when I got divorced. And all of a sudden, my name is being drugged through all of the bills not being paid, all of the stuff out there, like all of the debt. And when I started over, because I had 7 years to rebuild my name, when I started over with a promise of having like clarity, also like debt control. I am not a fan of debt because if I could do what I've done without having to have debt, I've learned how to do certain things. But that also limits you in some of your things. And I was willing to take that limit. But that was my traumatic experience. It's like having to file bankruptcy, starting from zero, literally losing everything in a divorce, the business, the house, the cars. And that's my traumatic experience.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think talking about that normalizes it because otherwise we see the Libby of today, right? Like the multi 7-figure business owner, like that she has several different entities, that she's organized, that, everything's systematized, like good relationship with her spouse and with her kids. And it's like, yes. And I've
had everything you could imagine.
Molly, the mutual friend that we're talking about, she was like, Libby's like an onion. Every time I see her, there's a whole new layer that I didn't know I was going to peel back, And I think we are all like that. And I love finding the connection points, right? Like I love finding, one of the things that Libby and I feel like have in common is that we're not afraid to be the first woman at a table. Right.
No.
And maybe if we were afraid at some point, we've gotten over that because we see how important it is to bring other women to the table. Right. And when you share that moment, we're like, well, yeah, I had to fight my way in with my elbows out, thrashing to earn this seat. And then that was a good connection point for us. Right. Like now it's like, wow, okay, here's another woman that's fighting the same fight, right? That's fighting the same battle. And so, yeah, I think with the numbers, I wish that people talked about bank account balances more, or I wish that people talked about EBITDA more, or I wish that people talked about their own personal pay more.
Oh,
I wish that we
yes.
revenue less. And I wish that we talked about wealth, because somebody recently posted yesterday, like the true definition of wealth. And it shocked me. I was like, that's not what I would have guessed. In fact, I think I might have to like just Google it and read it for the listeners. It wasn't just about money.
No, it's not.
Oh, you know what? Okay, the Google says that it mostly is about money, but there's one subtext that I'm going to read, and it's plentiful supplies of a particular resource. Yeah. And the way it was rewritten in what I saw was it could be time freedom. It's also financial freedom, but like, I wish we talked more about that. And instead we talk about run rate and about revenue. And I can't be bothered. I will walk away from any conversation talking about revenue because I just don't care. I don't care at all.
Do you know how many business owners that they may have a 7-figure run rate, but they have no money?
Oh my God. I wish I had it right at my fingertips, and I don't. This weekend at the huge convention, Libby and I were both there speaking. That's why I'm hoarse, because I had podcasts, 2 speaking engagements, and like 30 one-on-one sessions with people doing financial transformation. So there's like I have tea and honey going. There's very little voice left. Plus, 2 a.m. at the bar on Broadway for 3 nights.
I've seen you on Facebook having a good time.
That helps. I
was like, oh my God, I can't keep up with these. They're like, I'm too old, but you are having a good time. All of you guys.
We had a good time. So the huge convention, great convention. It's huge. But when you looked at the speaker topics, I would guess, I brought it home because I want to count it. I would guess over 60% of the topics had the word 7-figure in them. And I just wanted to scream, because I think that's the dumbest thing ever. If you want to run a residential maid service company at $500,000 and you want to pay yourself $100,000, and you want to be at 10% net profit or 20% net profit, I am going to applaud you and buy you a drink, because I want what you want. And just because everybody else wants a 7-figure business doesn't mean that that's the best thing for your family. Now, same is true if you come to me and you say, Meaghan, I want to run a $10 million maid service, and I want to run it at 20% net, and I want to go sell it for $15 million in the next 2 years, I will remind you of the importance of that 20% net number, how like it could be 30% net. Like I help many, many business owners. I've got, I do 4 one-on-one clients at a time, and 2 of them are over 35% net profit right now. And both of them will do over 10 million this year.
So I love this topic because I preach all the time I coach a lot of cleaning business owners. And I was at a event and the speaker's like, write down your goal. And it was revenue. All they wanted was money. And
I feel like I've done that to you before. I've done that to you before.
And I said, so it came to me and I said, I didn't write down a revenue. I wrote down how much profit I want. And I was intentionally keeping my business smaller that year because we wanted to focus on profitability. You can't necessarily always be growing and focus on profit at the same time because it takes money to grow. Now, you can do both, but to me, I like to focus on like one hard thing, fix a few things, and then focus on the other.
Well, do you hear the word you're using? Focus.
Focus.
Focus means one thing. Focus does not mean 12 things. Focus means prioritizing one thing. I'm actually going to look it up, but yes, you want to focus on net profit. So go ahead.
So I didn't write down a revenue and everyone in the room was like 4 million and 5 million and 10 million. And I just wrote down a profit and some other things I wanted out of the business. I was at the bar that night and someone that was in the room came up to me and they said, Libby, I just want to thank you. They said, I heard everybody else's goals and I scratched mine off because I wanted to stay small because I wanted time freedom. And I scratched my goal off and wrote down what everybody else said so I would fit in. But you were the only one who didn't do that.
Yep.
And I think that, as coaches and as consultants, we have to watch what we're pushing. Like we're always talking about grow. Well, you don't have to be 7 figures to be successful. Success is just like wealth. It depends what you have the abundance of. Like, what do you want out of your business? Not what is everyone else telling you that you need out of your business.
Yeah. So last year was our first year hitting 7 figures with the window cleaning company, just to give permission and perspective. I never really talk about my numbers publicly, but because we're on the topic and we're being vulnerable. Last year was the first year. And it was because my husband, who had been the CEO, who was the founder, had never wanted a 6-figure business. He had never wanted to go above 4 trucks ever. And all he wanted was to golf 3 days a week, to work 5 hours a week, and to have a very successful bottom line that fed his lifestyle. That's what he wanted. And the irony is, when we hit 7 figures, we actually made less. Mm-hmm. And I actually worked more. Because there are these like stages of business. And I'm not saying 7 figures is bad. I'm just saying, like, I love my husband dearly because he is so clear on his like, this is what I want. Like, this is the thing. And most of us, we're exactly like the business owner you just described. We adopt other people's dreams and we lose the reality check of like, what do we actually want? Right? Like, what do we actually want? So this year has been super fun because when my husband retired, we brought in our general manager and we did an equity deal. And so he's now an owner. And I say that my role is like to support him in his goals. And he has much bigger goals. But I have to remind him, I'm like, so remember, like 2 years ago, this was where we were net profit. Here's where we were shareholder distributions. And like, here's what Jeff's calendar looked like. Just as a reminder. So we can do this, but I don't want to get in this game where I'm going to burn you out or like where you're going to, sacrifice everything to do it. Because we're sitting on a gold mine. All of us are sitting on a gold mine. It's just a matter of not getting distracted, keeping the focus and prioritizing what's important to us. And every year, I love Libby's good at having themes for her year. Every year you can choose something new to work on, right? Like
this year is intentionality.
Every quarter you can choose something new to work on. Like every day, technically, we could choose something. Although I don't like working on a big thing every day that's different. Like you want to keep going. You want to build your momentum. But yeah, every quarter for sure. 12-week year was a really good gift to me to understand that. Like, I don't have to wait till January 1 to start over. I can start over every quarter or every week. Why not?
Every quarter. For me, intentionality was this year because we do so many things as entrepreneurs just because somebody asked me, just because. And I'm like, no, everything I'm doing right now needs to have a reason or a purpose. I need to approach everything with an intention. But what is that intention?
Yeah, and we're the only ones that can answer it. I really struggle with that one still. I know that you had Erin Larson on recently, and I did my why discovery with her in maybe March, maybe February. And it was great because I had done my why discovery for Likes accounting a couple of years ago, but I hadn't done my personal why discovery in a long time. And the accountant in me was like, but now I want like the impact filter. Like now I want to know, how do I turn away everything that doesn't feed my why?
So what's your why?
So my why is I thoughtfully create opportunities so that we can confidently realize our full potential. That is my why. Like I love helping people like take that fear out. I love helping them unlock the thing that they can do, that they were born to do. And usually that unlocking has to do with like relationships. So I'm really good at connecting. Like if you tell me you want to sell your business, like in a side conversation, I just probably will naturally end up finding a buyer because it's just the weirdest thing of the way my network works. Or if you tell me that you need an investor, or if you tell me that you want to do this thing, I will be like, oh, I know, I got a guy. That's me. That's what Meaghan does. I got a guy. I know a guy or a gal. But this impact filter work has been so hard for me because for us to stay intentional with our time, and the bigger we get, like the more opportunities that come, and they're all unique and new opportunities. And so it's been so interesting. I read a book called Great Work 2 months ago. I ended up hiring the author of it to be my coach. And that's what we're working on now. It's like, instead of why, I'm working on purpose. And she's a very great, you would love it, Libby, great system for like fulfilling my purpose. And she has the checklists for me to say no to stuff. And she has the checklist for me to say yes to stuff. And she has the scripts of how I say no. And it is like, I don't know if you can hear it, listeners, but like there's a peace around me. And I think I had to do my why discovery first with Erin in order to be able to like even try to like touch the great work. And it might take me the next 10 years to get to my true great work. But right now I'm on a pretty clear path. There's some really cool stuff happening by December 1st. And it feels amazing, like the clarity. And so you're saying intentionality. For me, it's been like clarity around purpose. Like, how do I say no to all the crap that feels good? It feels fun. It feels like great.
It also,
it's crap. It's just crap.
It strokes our egos. It does, so for the entrepreneurs out there, at least for like speakers and coaches, you're kind of like, ooh, they want us. They want me. Ooh, I gotta and that does stroke everything. We're all ego driven at the end of the day. But a lot of the opportunities that come to us, it's hard. I agree with Meaghan. It is so hard to say no, but are we saying yes because it strokes our ego, or are we saying yes because it truly is in line with our why? Right. And so Meaghan, I told this to Molly, but I haven't really told anybody else until now. I'm going to say it, but Molly already knows. My goal in 2025 is to not travel for speaking. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of intentionality around it and behind it. I also looked at how much money I've spent traveling. And so, some of the things I get paid for, some of the engagements are paid for, but there's still a cost. There's a cost of time. There's a cost of family time, like my children, my pets, my hobbies, my health, my exercise.
We are on the same page, girl. That was my last speaking engagement on Saturday.
Yep.
No, my last one. I don't have any outstanding contracts. I don't have anything else that I have to do. And when I walked away, I said, that is the last trade show I will ever run. I am done. That was it. I walked away. Huge convention. I retired. And now I will probably help Jeff. Like I'll probably do speaking with Jeff. I'll probably do a trade show booth with Jeff every now and then. But Meaghan Likes. I found out I did 6 trade show booths in 6 years at the huge convention. Like, no wonder I'm tired. Like 6 different designs for 6 different companies. What the hell is wrong with me? Talk about not being focused. Talk about not doing great work. Like.
And so that's my goal. I'm only going to fulfill the ones I have left. For speaking, I have 2 left. And then we're done. We've already talked about it. I'm retiring from speaking for the near future for 2025 because I want to focus on like my why. And I feel like I can do more. I can actually help more from stage than from stage. I can help more. if I stay focused and I cut out the distractions. And for me, those distractions were trade shows and speaking.
I love it. Well, we're definitely on the same page. And it's so funny because like 2 years ago, that's all I wanted. I wanted one speaking engagement a month. And then COVID, I guess it's 4 years ago. Then COVID hit and I got stacked with all these webinars. And then it was like 2 a month. And then it got up to like 4 a month. And then I was like, oh, I got to scale back. And so I scaled back, but I still had all these legacy events that I felt like, oh, I've got to go.
And you feel bad.
Yeah. And I love speaking. I think it's good to speak. I think it's a great way to get my message out to many, but I think you're right. I think the personal cost is too great. The family cost is too great. The health, I'm sick right now because I spoke too much.
Yep. So there are some reels going around and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have told Rexy, she does the reels. She pulled a video from, it was right before the summer. I think it was like May of this year. And I was so sick, Meaghan. I was having like kidney issues. I had like a cold sore. I had a cold. And I saw those reels. She's releasing them this week. So you're probably seeing them on my social media. And I'm like, oh my God, look at how horrible I look. And you can tell I'm sick in these reels. And I said, it came from a long stint of traveling. Like it was like bam, 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 like back to back. And I was done. And my oldest son is going to be a senior next year. Like he's a junior this year. So that's another reason.
We got to meet him in San Jose.
Yes. So he's going to be a senior in 2025. You know, Yaya's getting older. And I want to focus on my craft, my why. So yeah, that's my goal for 2025. So if you want to see Libby speak, you only got to the end of this year. Got only 2 more gigs.
There you go. There you go.
And I'm done with booths as well. That I retired from that. I'm done.
Man, this one like killed me. And it might've been my best one, but I'm done. I'm just done. So
I looked up the book real fast to share with everybody because it's kind of what is in line with the topic that me and Meaghan have been talking about. And it's called Small Business, Big Success. It's about intentionally keeping a company small. And everyone's version of small is different. Everybody's version of small is different. So it just depends on like, what are you trying to achieve? And me and Meaghan are not saying we're trying to keep our company small. We're trying to stay focused on what is it that we want? What size of company do we want? And to focus on that versus focusing on 500 different things.
Well, so small company. What's been fun with the great work is I have, like 8 active companies right now that I'm like a principal in, like I'm a driver in. And as I've been simplifying, we've been trying to figure out like, how do you prioritize time? Like, how do I fit that all into a weekly calendar? How do I manage the teams and the leadership teams and show up for them? And like, how do I do the thing that I'm supposed to do in each of those businesses? And it's helped me kind of prioritize them. And I do tie a lot of numbers to them, but most of the numbers are EBITDA numbers. And we've been working really hard towards a financial freedom metric. So for the listeners out there, like, in case you don't know what the financial freedom metric is for you, it's a very easy formula. It's your annual spending, personal spending, times 33. And Dan Martell calls this your velocity number. But once you've stacked that number in the bank, you never have to make a decision about money again. As long as you don't have lifestyle creep, as long as you don't go blow it on, fancy cars and fancy houses or whatever. But your personal spending, like for your desired lifestyle, times 33 is the financial freedom metric you need. So Jeff and I have been working really hard to like stack that. And I kind of had this goal of having it stacked before 40 because Jeff got to retire at 39. And I was like, I would like to be at our financial freedom number by 40. And then the fun part is if you can annuitize, if you can like create an ATM machine for one of your businesses that doesn't cause any extra work, then that can actually come off of the personal income that you need, right? You can take that off. And so I've actually been making my financial freedom number smaller. So the goal is easier. And then the fastest way to get to a financial freedom number is to build a business to sell. And we sell businesses based on EBITDA and systems, not on revenue, very rarely on revenue. No. And so I've loved that clarity of this fun game and this deadline and, coming up on a big birthday milestone. You're like, okay, I got it. I'm clear.
Yeah.
I got the great work. Let's go.
And this is true in SaaS companies. This is a statement that we talk about in SaaS, but I also think it's true for recurring home service businesses like window and cleaning and pool and lawn care. If you're going to create that company that's like an ATM, right? Just constantly putting out cash, it's not necessarily how much is it making. So in SaaS, we say it's not how much money are we making, it's how fast can we make it. Right. So that is the ATM. It's not like how much money can I make? It's how fast can I make it?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you turn it into an ATM.
Yeah. Bryce and I, Bryce is my business partner in the window cleaning company, the man that took on equity at the end of last year. And so we've been doing tons of planning. Like, I love that. Like, that's my role in the window cleaning company, is just kind of facilitating, his vision, with conditions. But like, I really feel like he's the driver of growth now, since we weren't really growth focused in the past. And so on the plane home yesterday, we spent the whole 4-hour plane ride, and I mapped it out for him every which way. I was like, what do you want in the next 1, 3, 5 years? And when we got it all mapped out, I was like, Bryce, we can do that next year. And he just, like, his whole head, he was like, what? I'm like, yeah, this is just a speed, like, the math is here. So now we just reverse engineer the math, and you can get everything you wanted out of this by next year. And then I showed him how it compounded. And it was probably my most favorite flight I've had in a long time. And if anybody knows me and they've been on a flight with me, I don't like to talk on the plane. I don't like to sit next to people I know. I like to do my own work, mostly emails. Like, it was a very different plane ride, but it was really fun to get to see, like, guys, this doesn't have to be at 65 year retirement plan. This could be at, whatever your age is. It could be next year or the year after.
So let's end on that, because Meaghan's going to die on us. And I want to thank Meaghan for being a great guest on the Fearlessness Podcast. We'll make sure that we put all of our show notes, or all of Meaghan's contact, in the show notes. But before we wrap up, Meaghan, is there anything that our listeners should be keeping an eye out for? I know you have a lot of things in the works, but is there anything you want to add that you have going?
I just want to say, like, don't be afraid to ask the questions, right? Like, stop talking about revenue. Catch yourself when you're at the bar, when you're at the next trade show, when you're at the next, like, event. Stop talking about revenue and, like, choose a different number. Start talking about time. Start talking about bank balances. Start talking about your pay. Start talking about your lifestyle. And that's what I'm going to challenge you to do, is, like, don't be like everybody else, because they're silently going bankrupt. Definitely. Guaranteed. They're failing, and they're lying to themselves, which means they're lying to you. So can we just stop that charade and cut that off? Just commit to Libby and I by listening to this 45 minutes. You're going to think about it differently.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think that's a great way to end. So again, I want to thank all of our listeners. I want to thank our sponsor, Woot Recruits. And if you like this episode, there are many more on thefearlessness.com. And that's a wrap, guys, into the heart of fearlessness. Please remember that every step we take is a move towards our own strengths and courage. Keep walking through those fires, because on the other side lies a version of yourself that's unstoppable. I'm Libby, reminding you to embrace your fearlessness. Until next time, stay brave, stay bold, and keep pushing forward.